Hi guys, and welcome back. So, our mission as always, your life should be on your terms, not someone else's. And today, I want to talk about a quote from Warren Buffett, one of the investment geniuses of all times. And he said something along these lines. The quote or citation might be a little bit wrong. But if you don't make money whilst you sleep, you most likely have to work until you die. That might sound very, very harsh, but it might also become the truth for a lot of people unless you do something about it. We can all do something, we can all change, we all have choices to make. And what Warren's basically saying is that if we set ourselves up to make money consistently, passively, we don't have to think about the fact that we always need to trade, selling our time, for money. And that's the difference. So you have two concepts really. Passive income, active income. Active income is what most people do. You trade your time for money. So you go to work, you work for 6, 8, 10 hours, whatever, you get paid. Maybe you spend all the money and then you have to go back again. Or you spend most of it and you have to go back again. And you do that for your whole life. And in the end, you look at your bank account and say, shit, still nothing there because you worked, spent the money, worked, spent the money, worked, spent the money. And what he's basically saying, the risk is if you don't take care of yourself and think a little bit ahead about the future, you might be one of those who have to continue working until you, literally die. And that is obviously something that we do not want. So money is of importance because if you have money coming in, passive income, without trading your time, which basically means, the simplest example would be, you take some of the money you make when you get your salary, put it into a savings account with a bank. I know it doesn't pay a lot, it's just an example, because you take your money, you put aside some in a savings account with the highest interest possible, of course. If you do absolutely nothing, your money will be there and it will actually grow with the interest. That is passive income. Because you're not doing shit, you're just laying around and all the time interest is accumulating. Might be slow if the size or if the deposit is small, it obviously will be small, but that is passive income. Other things could be you're selling an online course. You do it once, tick, 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 every time you sell, you don't have to do anything. That is also passive income. Or if you write a book, or if you invest in a company, you don't work in the company, you're just an investor. So, say for example, I'm using my Apple phone, for example. Well, actually, I can use the phone all day, calling and do whatever shit people want to do on the phones, or I could actually become an owner, which means I own a piece of the action. I don't have to do anything, but obviously, if I buy a piece of the action, stocks in Apple, I'm taking a risk that Apple goes south or sour completely. That's part of it. But if not, I don't have to do anything. I can become a completely passive investor. I just buy my stocks. That's the only thing I do. Absolutely nothing. If it performs well, maybe they are paying out dividends, cash in my pocket. And if they're doing well, the performance, the value of my holding might increase in value. I do nothing, it still happens. No guarantees, those are investments. So, what Warren has been doing his whole life is actually investing in the stock market. That is what he's been doing for the last, more than 70 years. He's 87 years old, still very sharp, reading a lot, and he's one of the richest people alive. Yeah, one of the richest people alive. And what he does and what he has done his whole career, finding the right investments for him and kept them for an extremely long time. His intention has been to never sell an asset. Has happened, but most of the time he's saying, buy them, keep them forever. With the intention of them growing. So, the whole thing here really is that everything within the section, or in this session, and in terms of what we do, is life on your terms, meaning you having the time, obviously, to do what you want, when you want. But imagine you have all the time, but you have no money. That's the problem. So, in the wealth section, the focus is for you to create a money machine that is working for you 24/7. And if we're to just look a little bit at one of the richest people alive, Warren Buffett, and what he said, he would be looking at investments. And the simple things to do would obviously be savings accounts, the first step, something, not a lot of action, maybe some bond funds or bond investment, maybe not a fund because they might be expensive. Bonds to give you a coupon, you take some more risk, but you get a payout in terms of a coupon if everything goes well, or even equities paying dividends. For example, Coca-Cola. You could own a piece of Coca-Cola, maybe a tiny piece, and if their numbers still keep being okay, they pay a dividend to the shareholder, so there's cash coming back into your pocket. That is passive income because you don't have to do anything, but obviously if you do anything within investments, you need to know and understand what you're doing because there are risks involved, that's for sure. But this was one of the things, but what you should really be doing is of course to look at what other people are doing. And if you look at all the people that are successful, or if you think about or read about a millionaire or whatever, they all have one thing in common. Well, they actually have many things in common. One is they have multiple sources or multiple streams of income. They don't want to rely upon one thing, which is what most people do then. We go to work, trade our time for money, walk over one day and they say, sorry, we'll close the shop. And it's like, no more income. Rich people normally wouldn't put themselves in that situation. They would have money coming from there, money coming from there, money coming from there, there. If one thing is cut out, yeah, might be really, really bad, but they are not dependent on one source of income, nor should you. So the key message really with this is maybe looking a little bit automating and saving so that something happens for you, even if it's small from the beginning, but everything starts where we stand. We can't do anything else than start with what we have and where we stand. The key thing is start learning about the money language. And the money language is that you need to understand the jargon within that space because your whole life you will have to deal with money in one way or another, one form or shape, right? So if you speak English, brilliant. Most of the stuff you'll be super comfortable with all over the world because most people speak English. But everywhere we need to use money to pay for things. And if you don't understand the language of money, there's a great likelihood that you don't have any, or very, very little. And the sooner that you learn, the easier it will be for you to earn. That's quite funny actually. Because the more we know, the easier it is to add new things. And the more we know and learn, the easier it is for us to take control, automate things, and make things happen for us within this space without feeling, oh, money, pension, retirement. If we do, it's a bad thing. The sooner we start thinking about and learning the money language, the easier it becomes. And that is also part of what we do, and we have a section for it on the website. But again, find ways, always think of ways how you can make passive income. That is the key message of this. If you don't want to work until you die, you should always be thinking, how can I make passive income? How can I do this and make it passive? Even if you're at work, maybe you can figure out some smart things and say, actually boss, if I can do this thingy here, will you still pay me the same? And then maybe you can figure out something smart that actually I can work 2 hours less per day and I'm still getting the same kind of money because I did something smart at work. Or you start doing something on the investment side, or you find another project, or maybe you write a book, or you come up with something. I have a spare room in my house. I rent it out. It's not passive completely because someone needs to obviously open the door for the guest and whatnot. Semi-passive, but just starting to think in that way. How can I generate different ways of multiple streams of income? Because the more you think like that, the more opportunities you will see, and obviously the less dependent you will be on a salary. Salary is fine, but the more streams of income you can add, the better, because then eventually you might be able to skip the income part and just live off the other sources of cash flowing in passively, and that's when you can live your life on your terms because you have the time and you have the money in your pocket, and that is exactly what we want.